Hi, and I am in New York City today, and I'm very, very privileged to be sitting with the CEO of Hasselblad, Perry Oosting. And it's been a long time since Luminous-Landscape has had an opportunity to sit down with Hasselblad, discuss the industry with Hasselblad, and I'm hoping, and actually truly believe, that today will be the first of hopefully a number of conversations that we have throughout the next year as we talk about, number one, the history of Hasselblad and the present state of affairs with medium format in the photography industry, and have an opportunity to kind of start looking forward a little bit, and hopefully as we continue through the year, we'll have the opportunity to sit down and talk about even some newer things that will come along. Perry has been the CEO with Hasselblad since just about a year ago, January last year, correct?
Absolutely.
And Hasselblad's kind of been quiet for a little while. And hopefully Perry can tell us a little bit about where Hasselblad's been, why it's sort of been quiet, and where things are going. And I look forward to this conversation. I have a few little questions for you along the way, but tell us a little bit about where Hasselblad is now and where you was when you came in and what's happening.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Kevin, and it's good to be here. A lot of things happened. So before I joined Hasselblad, I was shortly in the supervisory board of Hasselblad. And for me, it was, of course, a new experience to be in the supervisory board, and especially being in a new category for me. But when the board asked me in November 2014 to join as the CEO, I grabbed this opportunity with both hands, because it's a great brand, it's a great story, it's a great iconicity, and a great legitimacy, I would say, to look into the future. The start was not easy. In January 2015, it was not an easy period, I have to admit to that. But what do you do in those kind of circumstances? First of all, of course, is people. I mean, people are key. We were kind of, I would say, scattered in terms of where people were working. So we had kind of a hub in London, we had kind of a hub in Denmark. We had our production manufacturing part of the R&D in Göteborg. There used to be an Italian design studio that was already closed. But what was at first important were, for me, the people and work on the organization. We put everything back in Göteborg. So that was one of the first steps.
Centralized it.
Centralized. That's the root, that's the core, that's where Hasselblad started, that's where we have the expertise. And that expertise had to be added. So we set up a complete new management team. And we put all our efforts and money into R&D, because, I mean, that will be your future. So this was one of the first actions that we've done. The second element was, of course, to align everybody. So what is the strategy? Which the direction we're going to go? Because one thing is motivation, but I believe people are motivated and dedicated and passionate if we have one common goal. So put a lot of effort in a 3-year plan together with the management team. So it was certainly not done in isolation. And an extended management team, we were about 20 to 25 people. And that strategy was communicated to every employee in the company. Every employee has the direction of the company, and I believe very well embraced. So that was part of the organizational readiness and the strategic readiness. Then, of course, was also operational readiness. Operational readiness was working on supply chain, working on production, working on sourcing, and of course working on the roadmap. That's why we also been a bit more quiet, because we've been actually more focused on that, what we had to do, and that was our homework. And the third thing, what was key, was the financial readiness, because we can have dreams, we can say, well, we're going to change the world, we're going to have a great roadmap, but it was also, of course, how we're going to pay for it. And what we have aligned first is to the non-strategic assets, to have that as a divestment. But moreover, as you know, we had a minority investor in addition, and that happened in October. The signing happened in October. Of course, the process started in the summer, and that was signed with DJI as a minority investor in October 2015.
A lot of people are curious about that. Let's come back to that a little bit.
So there's a lot of happened. So that was actually preparing a foundation for sustainable growth. And that's what we've been focused on. And that's probably we've been a bit quiet.
Good. Well, you know, it's interesting because there's been so much with Hasselblad in the past. And I want to clear the air right off the bat. Hasselblad has a great legend and legacy in the photography industry. And over the last few years, under your previous management, there was a lot of rebranding and was kind of binging out of some third party, specifically Sony cameras. Is this still there, or where do we stand with that at this point?
Yeah. Well, let me first go back. I think at the time that that decision and that strategy was done, I wouldn't say the what was wrong. So the what of a segmentation strategy and a tiering strategy to attract other than just the professional photographers and a wider audience to the brand, I think was correct. You could discuss the how. So the how was probably we can discuss. I do want to be respectful to the past because I should be judged and the team should be judged on what we're going to do in the future.
Correct, and I have no question about that.
What we are not going to do is that similar approach. So we will bring everything back to Göteborg. That was one of the actions why the whole R&D, the whole design, and the whole management team is back in Sweden. Because the expertise and the core DNA of Hasselblad is made in Sweden. So, and that is the authenticity, and I would say that is then therefore the legitimacy to grow the brand going forward. So we will not see a badged partner product going forward, and we want to build the brand from our own core DNA, and that is built around the optical quality, that is built around the iconic design, the living history, and the Swedish craftsmanship.
I think that's well stated, and that's, I think, a good statement for everybody to hear, because I think people, and specifically passionate photographers, really believe in what we see here, these two products. You know, the V system is legendary.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, it's just...
and the V system is an inspiration. I mean, when I talk about iconic design, that is iconic design. That's what the language is of Hasselblad.
Yes.
And then when I talk about segmentation, why the what was okay. I mean, that was a camera not only for the professional photographer, that was certainly also for the passionate and dedicated amateur or semi-professional. And that is, I think, the core DNA where we need to build the brand back from.
Well, I think that's an important consideration. I know as a young photographer, you know, and this is a strong word, but I had lust for the Hasselblad brand.
Yeah.
I worked my butt off so I could afford the Hasselblad cameras. Right. And then there was always a stigma that came with that, is that, you know, once you had the Hasselblad in your hand, you reached another pinnacle of your career as a professional. Yeah. Of course, a lot of things were different back then, but that whole iconic legacy has, I think, and I'm pretty sure, continued to this present day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where we are building our foundation on. So the direction is absolutely to play a role on the top of the pinnacle, if you may describe it as a pinnacle of a triangle and say, we want to be on the top, we want to be perceived as the best. And the best is then the optical quality and the results. And why that? Because you want to expand the opportunity for the photographers to expand their creativity. You can only expand your creativity if you have the whole field of play available. But then also, if you look at that pinnacle and say, what is underneath there? Because there's still a lot of people that are really taking time and dedicated about photography. Because in a way, that was the V system at the time. And there were 550,000 cameras being sold of the V system over the many years. And that's why the CFV, our digital back, which I think is one of the best stories, and it's been the most successful product range for us in 2015.
When we talk about the pinnacle, and many people, if you put the market as a pyramid or a triangle, and we talk about segmentation in the marketplace with high end, the medium side, and then more or less the consumer side of things. Yeah. Let's talk about the medium format marketplace now. And at one point you're talking 550,000 cameras. The numbers have changed pretty drastically at this point. Yeah. We've both been in the marketplace for a while, medium format. Yeah. Where do you see medium format market? As you reorganize the company, obviously you were looking at a lot of things internally, but you can't make a lot of decisions internally without understanding a little bit about what's on the external. So share with us what your vision, at least and view of the medium format marketplace is at this point.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of changes in the market, and you probably know that much better than me. You've been in the market much longer than me. But I think we see a lot more players coming in as well. Because of course that whole push from the bottom on the compact side that has been taken over by the mobile side is of course where people are trading up. Yes. And not only trading up from a consumer level, but especially also driven by the manufacturer level. So Pentax 645 was one of those examples. So we see more people coming in. I expect actually more people to come in from a manufacturer side.
Certainly a lot of rumors.
A lot of rumors. We hear the same rumors as you do. You probably know more than we do. But there will be probably more players, partly some for commercial reasons, maybe others for image reasons, from a brand image reasons. So that's one of the things on the observations, and then of course how medium format is used and by who. So in certain markets we see absolutely it is a smaller elite circle say, okay, that's what I need and that's the tool I need. In other markets we see also actually consumers trading up into medium format to say, well, we've done that part, the full frame, now we want to see what we can do with that medium format. We believe in medium format. We believe that's the part of Hasselblad. And that's been there since the H system, and that's where we want to be with the professional photographers. So there will be also new medium format cameras going forward for Hasselblad. Absolutely.
Good. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about the medium format marketplace is that I look at it in somewhat three broad segmentations. Mm-hmm. You've got the professional, you've got the high-end enthusiast market, and then you have the specialized market, the aerial, the museums, industrial, institutional kind of things. And it's a lot different than the basic DSLR market. Yeah. And so when a medium format company looks at that segment, you've got to take into consideration a number of things. There's a lot of people on forums, for example, that say, all right, well, they can only sell X amount of cameras, but you have to understand that there's a whole other segment of the marketplace that many people don't ever hear about. Yeah. And, I don't know if we call them, let's say, institutional sales, where high-end, high-quality, image quality is utmost, the end-all to end-all, and it's not so much about the price. And then there's the industrial market, the aerial market, for example, which is getting huge, specifically with all the aerial mapping and so forth. And now Hasselblad's playing a part in all those, is that correct?
Absolutely. So we had launched in 2015 our first aerial camera. Dedicated aerial camera was the A5D. We felt that was absolutely needed to go in a way back. If anybody has legitimacy to be an aerial, once you've been in the moon, we should be able to be also in an aerial application. So there will be further development on the aerial side. Of course, we're strong in the institutional side, if you may call that. We are strong in the museum side. We are in New York today. We're here. All the cameras of the Modern Museum of Art here in New York is a Hasselblad. Forbidden City in Beijing is Hasselblad. Rijksmuseum is Hasselblad. So certainly with our multi-shot solution, absolutely important. And then of course you have the professional, like you said, because there's more segmentation than just saying, okay, it's just that professional photographer, there's more to it. And then what we see in Asia actually is, especially, is that dedicated amateur trading up. And another element we saw with our pricing, because yes, pricing is still, there's an element of sensitivity and elasticity when you see we have the H5D, that what we've done at the end of last year with that special price, that really, overpassed our expectations. So we have now the problem of, not supplying the demand, which is a good problem to have, but it shows that when you hit a certain price point, that there's a much wider audience. Because yes, there's a hesitance maybe to go into the market, but it's also still price driven as well.
Yeah, now you've set yourself a level there. Hopefully you can meet the demand of, making enough cameras.
We will.
That also signals something about maybe where things have to be moving forward.
Yeah.
Right now, tell me what the systems are. You have the H5 system, and there's how many different backs for this at this point?
Well, at the moment we're focused on the 50 CMOS, the 50. We still have the 60 CCD. The 40 is coming to an end, and that's the situation. But it's mainly the 50 CMOS sensor.
Are you making a back for the V system?
We have the CFV, which is also the 50 CMOS. That's been really successful. We believe in this product. We feel a continuation of this product and an optimization of this product going forward. I'm not going to disclose when and what and how, but it's been the most growing segment or category was the CFV digital back. And we had also here adjusted the price because there was again this sensitivity, and it's been extremely successful. And why? It's a mixture of who's that customer, because that was the interesting part. So is it the one, like when your first camera was there, say, no, well, I really love to shoot with this camera, got my waist level, got my square, and that's certainly a group. But interesting, a lot of younger people are going back to that system, and it's sometimes driven by education, where some of the professors of film academies and photography academies saying to the students, yeah, it's good that you know the technology, but the first thing is you need to learn how to look. You need to learn how to look at composition. And looking at that viewfinder on the waist level and looking at that, it gives you another discipline, because just taking a picture is more than just pushing a button. And I think we've seen a very good uptake on the CFV digital back, and I think it's also an amazing brand story.
I think, well, first off, it is an amazing brand story, but what I think always set Hasselblad apart in that format was the square.
The square, absolutely.
And of course, there's always people are asking, have you ever thought of just making a square sensor again?
Well, I cannot disclose anything, but we are, of course, we heard the same questions, yeah. You need to then study that, because why not? I mean, we listen to the market, so that is very important for us. But we also need to look then at how is that business working? I mean, how many actually are there, and how does the cost relate to business? So we absolutely looked at that, and we absolutely listened to the customers. I cannot confirm nor deny at this stage.
Oh, you're getting to be...
I'm a politician, right?
You're doing a very good job.
Yeah.
You fit into the American model very well.
Okay, but I'm not running for president, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, you'd probably be... well, let's not get into politics.
No.
It's an interesting time as far as that goes, for sure.
I did already my faux pas in New York, so I stopped there.
Really?
Yeah.
We should probably ask about that later on. Now, you've got the V, but this has been and it started with the H1, and you're up to the H5 system at this point. Lovely camera and so forth. Where do we go from here with this? It's the H5. Will there be an H6?
Well, we will have a lot of announcements this year. So there will be a lot of announcement, and there will be a further development, of course, of the H system. When we talk about the pinnacle and we talk about the top, there will be a further evolution.
I like the word a lot. You had 1 year of putting things in order, and now you've got the opportunity to have a lot of announcements this year.
A lot.
And well, we're not going to be talking about any major announcements. I think I'll make it very clear, Perry and I have already discussed getting together a number of other times when things begin to happen.
Yeah. And the reason, I want to be a bit more explicit to that, Kevin. I think like what I said before, we can look at the past, we can point fingers, but we need to be judged on that what we'll deliver in the future. And it's better than to over-deliver and under-promise than over-promise and under-deliver. And that's kind of the mentality that we also brought inside the company, and that's also where we want to live up to. So it is good to catch up. So from a direction point of view, from a strategy point of view, to share our ideas, to be very open on it, the good and the bad, but at the same time, we will be in touch with you, and I hope many times going forward, also to celebrate some of the celebrations around our 75 years.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about the financial news that people have been following with Hasselblad.
Yeah.
At one point, there was a gentleman from Hong Kong named Shiro who was the investor, bought into, I think he pretty much owned Hasselblad as far as...
he was the former owner of Hasselblad, Mark Shiro and the Shiro Group.
Right. And then a venture capital firm came into play, correct? And are they the present?
They are the majority shareholder, so Ventus Capital. So Ventus Capital is based in Düsseldorf. It's a private equity group. They have the majority investment now. They had 100% investment before October last year. And then DJI came in as a minority investor.
Now that's interesting. You know, when the DJI announcement was made, there was a lot of, once again, you know, this is an industry full of speculation and.
Oh yeah.
And,
it's interesting to follow this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's like a tabloid sometimes.
Yeah.
But first off, it's a Chinese company.
Yeah.
And everybody's familiar with the fact that DJI has been very successful in the drone marketplace. Yeah. And of course, you know, the last thing everybody starts saying is we're going to start seeing Hasselblads flying around in drones. Yeah. Do you want to explain that relationship at all, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's. I mean, we are extremely happy to start with, because what happened last year, as I mentioned, organizational readiness, operational readiness, it was also financial readiness, and actually, although we were working on the minority investment with the fund, with Ventus Capital, DJI in the summer contacted us to be interested to talk to us. So, so it came from their side. We went to Shenzhen. We met with the team. We met with Frank and the management team. I was really impressed with the team. Not only what they've done, but I think they were extremely strong also about brand, control, a lot of brain power in all the different divisions. And the reason why DJI was interested in us, because, I mean, you always think, so why are you doing this? And actually they believed in the brand, the iconicity of the brand, the Hasselblad. But moreover, they believed in the strategy. So, like I mentioned before, at the beginning of 2015, with the team, we worked on the strategy. It was, of course, part of the due diligence, and Frank said that's the right way to go to build the brand back for the core DNA. There is nothing, in a sense, that we have any commitments based on synergies. Yeah, so it's not like say, okay, we buy into you because now we're going to do this. Yep. Completely free. So if there's opportunities, and of course we are in touch with the different divisions, and we try to grab as much brain power they have and experience they have, build it also in our teams, but there's no plans whatsoever of a joint product. There's no plans definite on any roadmaps going forward. We celebrate it from a marketing communication point of view. We're going to shoot Göteborg in next week, and there will be kind of a joint event. But it's just celebrating that we have this partnership, and that's the starting point. So we are happy because it's also a partner that leaves us going forward and believes in your strategy. So, and we're happy that there is a great partner also from, a sparring partner, and what I call the brain power, and so it's been a really good connection. And I go on a regular basis to Shenzhen to meet up, to meet the team, and to meet Frank, who's very impressive. Oh, yeah. And we're really happy about that.
You know, it's interesting, the Asian market, and it's, I know between all the high-end camera makers, for example, Alpha, who makes just camera bodies and provides the business that they're doing in China, Phase One, Leica, and of course Hasselblad, and the influence. Photography there is very interesting. I mean, there's a passion in regards to two things, and I think they kind of run parallel. Mm-hmm. They love the gear,
Yeah.
They really love the gear,
Yeah.
but they also love taking pictures.
Yeah.
Although some of them don't like to ever get them out of the camera or put them on the computer and do
Yeah.
things with them.
Yeah.
But it's a remarkable economy, and it's
Yeah.
photography plays such a major role in
Yeah.
regards to what they do and how they do things. It's quite interesting.
Well, you're so right. I mean, people are very, it's very important, their gear, as you called it. We have several ambassadors in China. I just was in Shanghai last November, together with our partner, Shiro. We did a great event. And we work a lot with our ambassadors because there's also enormous group of younger aspirational photographers that want to learn, that want to know. And we have a good mixture of different photographers. So we did a special with Sales. He's a wedding photographer. We have a Yang Lin, who's a landscape photographer, and then we have Ming Tin, who's only in her 30s, who's a fashion photographer.
Wow.
So she did the whole fashion photography. So different subjects where we get dedicated people together and listen to the work and listen to the experience of those ambassadors of us. And we do quite a lot in mainland China with them.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by that whole marketplace over there.
Yeah.
I've run several workshops there, and
Yeah.
I just like blown away
Yeah.
by what these guys are
Yeah.
doing and how much gear they have. I mean,
Yeah.
I had one guy that just had brought a person along to carry gear.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny the way that is.
Each lens double. Right?
It's pretty, and I always like selling there also. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I want one, but I have two more as gifts.
Yeah.
And it's something they enjoy doing.
No, absolutely.
When we're talking about photographers, let's kind of, I want to come back to some of the
Yeah.
technologies and the future of the marketplace, but
Yeah.
while we're talking about some individual photographers, one of the things that I've always admired about Hasselblad, and I'm happy to see that it's still continuing, is the Masters program.
Yeah.
And each year there's these marvelous publications and awards. I mean, these are just magnificent books.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the importance of the Masters with Hasselblad and why that's a continuing tradition, and it doesn't look like it's one that's going away.
Absolutely, it became an institution. The first winner was 2001. Anton Corbijn was the winner of the Masters, the first Masters. I met with Anton a few weeks ago, and because of course it's going to be 75 years, see what we can do something together. And the 2016 edition, as you know, has just been announced, and the winner's been announced. It's quite a pleasure to call the winners. Yeah. It's amazing, the reaction. It's never been so subscribed as ever before. So we were with 12,000 subscriptions of entries to this competition compared to 4,000 the years before.
That's an amazing number.
So that number was amazing. We did some additional categories because the younger category, so under 21, or also the urban streetwear category, what was important to also have younger photographers to have the opportunity to apply. So now we have announced them. Now they will get their gear and we'll start shooting with a Hasselblad. They're all excited. Oh. And then, of course, we could announce it in Photokina 2016. But absolutely, we see this as part of Hasselblad. And it's such a great thing. And people take so much pride, also very well-established photographers, to be announced to be the Masters. Yeah.
What I find very interesting, earlier this week we've been in New York, you've been doing your thing in New York, and we've been here doing a number of different things. Yeah. We had the opportunity to visit the School of Visual Arts, and we sat down with 3 graduate students that are running their own operations now. Yeah. It was one of the most fascinating hours I've spent. Yeah. It's easy to, we both have children roughly the same age, and we've talked about the challenges off camera a little bit about raising children. And you sort of at our age, and it's kind of funny because when we were young, somebody probably had the same sort of impression with us, is that what's this generation doing? Yeah. And I was so impressed by the commitment to projects, the dedication to the products, but they're photographing with medium format.
Yeah.
So the realization of,
Yeah.
not, just getting any old camera or shooting it with this or that, I asked them, well, let's talk gear. And medium format was the gear.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing that also with some.
Absolutely, and of course it is a minority. It's not like now. I mean, the mobile phone we cannot deny, and we will probably will shoot with both because why not? But I think it's the young generation, and overall there is also sometimes coming back. I mean, that whole slow trend and taking time. There are elements in saying, well, I needed that time and I need that quality because that's where I stand for, and I think that is great to see. It's like, you have fast food, or you can have something home cooked, right?
Or learn how to really cook it.
Or really learn how to cook it, and that is something that I think that is great to see, and we want to encourage that. We have a dedicated position, for example, here in the US, just for the schools and just for the education. So he's really dedicated to be in touch, to give seminars, to give workshops. And the same, the Masters is one of the tools to have young people come and join and then give them the experience to shoot. We also, give some rentals to the students to try the gear. And I get probably every other week a letter from a young upcoming photographer, help me, help me. Of course we cannot supply everything, and we also have our limitations, but whenever it's possible, we'll try to support it.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know if you know this, but Luminous-Landscape has our own nonprofit endowment where we give grants out to photographers and so forth, and it's really amazing to see some of the projects coming in from the grant applications, and be able to from our other side of the business, help people find their way in and doing photography that some of us never had the opportunity to do. How do you find photography? You were a complete non-photographer before you got into this, so the last year has got to be a real education.
I will not be in the Masters, Kevin. No.
Are you snapping some images?
I mean, my background is, I'm a goldsmith. I mean, actually I did an art academy in Holland, and so there's an element of the love for creativity. Let's put it this way. But I wouldn't consider myself as a creator in that sense. So I have a lot of affinity, and I would say, a nice snapper, but I'm not a professional photographer, no.
Well, come on a workshop sometime. I'll be happy to give you, we'll go to some amazing places and take some amazing pictures.
I mean, the team in Göteborg has helped me a little bit, and I appreciate it, but unfortunately, it's the time, and it's probably the same for you. We're so busy, and especially 2015 was an incredibly busy year. We did a lot, so I hope then when things starting to move in the right direction, to take more time for that as well.
One of the things that I'm finding is that 2016 is starting off to be a heck of a year.
Yeah.
When you think, we're sitting down, the last week in January, and just about every camera company has made a major announcement about new products, and this is a photokina year. You wonder where things are going to be photokina time. So I think there's a huge change in the industry, happening right now. It's kind of going to be fun to see where it goes this year.
Absolutely, and for us, it's our 75 years as a camera brand and 175 years as a company. So we have some celebrations as well, and not only on the photokina side.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Let's take a minute and talk the latest trend, megapixels.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
They're getting bigger and bigger all the time. Your competitor has recently announced a 100 megapixel system, phase 1, and they've made a very clear point that the chip that they're using is basically open to everybody in the marketplace. So
it's a Sony sensor.
It's a Sony sensor, and I think we just want to, so okay, so is Hasselblad going to be doing something in the 100 megapixel?
No, absolutely. I mean, we are certainly looking into that. So today, if you look at the roadmap of Sony, it's like you said, it's like an open platform. So it's that third category of Sony in sensors where it's open for everybody. There's 3 cycles in those sensor roadmaps. So on one side you have the test samples, and you have the engineering samples, and then you have the qualified production sample. So the qualified production sample is at the latest stage. We're working, we are in touch with Sony, we have a great relationship, and as you said, it's a megapixel race sometimes. I'm not so sure that it is always, that is now all that is needed. We have today our multi-shot solution, our 200 multi-shots on the H5. So if that specific need, and I'm talking like, for example, the institutional, think about the museums, they have a solution. I mean, that we had already for some years. So there's not like, oh, we need to have it tomorrow, because we have our multi-shot, and let's do it right. And let's do it with the right quality, and let's also build not only putting a sensor in the camera, but also make the surrounding around it, because it's quite a lot of data that needs to be captured. So your PCB board, your whole electronic platform needs to be the right way in order to capture them and to use it in the right manner.
Right. So
but we absolutely are in touch, and we are open to the 100 megapixel as well.
in the past, at one point, Hasselblad tightly locked out anybody else from integrating into their H system.
Yeah.
Where does that stand today? And
well, it was a decision many, many years ago that was taken at that time. We are open in that sense to anything. So whatever the camera and the optical quality can do better, we should be open to anything in that respect. It's not something, if you have that decision in the past that this is a closed system, that you change that from one day or another. It's also not a need to change it immediately. If at all it's needed to change, I'm just going to answer we're going to be open to any kind of opportunities to make a better product. And that's what we should be open to it. That was a decision, I think it was in 2001.
very far back at this point.
Far back, so. And certain things that it is closed and that it is yours is key, because otherwise, that's what you own and that's part of your IP. Think about our lenses and the shutter inside, and that's a great element to have, because it's not just a sensor that makes the quality, but as you know, it's the combination of the elements that makes it. And certain things you need to own, I would say, and keep that closed. On the other side, why not share certain things that you can do even better?
Excellent.
Yeah.
I really want to say thanks for sitting. I think this is a major opportunity for Luminous-Landscape and Hasselblad.
Yeah.
It's nice to get the door open again and to see the products, to get a chance to sit with you and actually begin to understand some of your vision and some of your challenges. It's encouraging, and actually I feel good about that. There's no negativity coming. There's only possibility.
Absolutely, and what we see as well, there's still an enormous goodwill to the brand. A lot of people want us to be very successful. They respect what we've been doing in the past and what we're doing today. Of course, certain executions of the past, you might say, scratch something at the same time. It also made a lot of people happy, but we have a direction. Start building the brand from the core, try to be the best, give the best gear to the creators to expand their creativity, and at the same time move forward, building down, and also to look at a wider segmentation of the consumer base.
Fabulous. Well, Perry, thank you very, very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get together with you again. I can't wait to come to Sweden and continue the story.
Perfect.
I think we've addressed the past. Everything from here on forward should be present and future, and I look forward to the new story that's being written right now, and looking forward to digging into the Masters winners this year.
Perfect. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you very much. It's been a marvelous conversation, and I look forward to moving ahead in the future. And for all our viewers, thanks for watching. The story will continue, and I'll see you on the Luminous Landscape.